All right, I will call the meeting to order at 5:42 p.m. Welcome, everyone. Sorry for the brief delay. First thing on our agenda is to have the attendance reported, and then Article 2. Please take a look at the agenda. If you don't have one on your device, they're being passed out right now to you. After you've had a chance to review the agenda for tonight's meeting, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to Article 3, approval of the minutes of the October 17 regular meeting and informational meeting. If you haven't yet had a chance to review those minutes, please do so, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve unless people have no questions, or people have questions they'd like to discuss before approval. I'd ask whoever makes the motion to clarify whether their motion includes both sets of minutes or if they're doing them separately.
I'll make a motion to approve both sets.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. Article 4, acknowledge visitors wishing to speak. I do not see any visitors present, and given that the internet's out, we would not have any over Zoom. So we'll move forward to Article 5, which is an update regarding Hope Network transportation. Jade?
Great, thank you. So in your packet, you'll see there's about 4 or 5 pages that we have taken. We were collecting data from Hope Network since August when they took over the transportation needs of the community, and they were sending them to us in these Excel spreadsheets, which were very long. So we took the data, actually Jessica did, who's not in the room right now, and consolidated it to summarize it into what you have in front of you. You can see on the first page, we'll just kind of walk through this slide by slide. The total riders per week, broke it down by day. So you can see that the most riders we ever had in a day was in week 4. That was 41 riders. I'm sorry, per week. And then the total riders per day of the week was Fridays at 70.
Is that one?
That
way?
was total.
One way though?
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's
on-
round trip. That's round trip.
So it's counting.
That's for total for 8 weeks, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay,
And that would be total riders. So if they got on and then got back on again, they were double counted.
okay.
got it.
So that number of 70 is really not 70 unique riders.
Probably 35.
It's probably, 35.
Okay.
The second page has some pie charts, and I'm going to just draw attention to 2 of them that I think are probably the most telling in regards to the demand, and that is the one in the upper right-hand corner, the percentage of total time slots by quantity of riders. If you look at it, 84.2% of the time, there was either 0 or 1 rider on the bus at that particular time. And then if you look at the bottom left, and just so you guys know too, we did meet with Scott from Hope Network on a number of occasions to kind of go over this data and talk about things we could do differently. Some of the feedback from the riders or from the drivers, it was pretty consistent that there was really nobody that really rode the bus all that much. But you can see that 7 to 10 slot, there was never more than 1 rider on it during the entire time. And then the last 2 pages are really just broken down by time slot, by the riders per day and riders per week. This is where we started. So the information we got from them was even more cumbersome than this. So we took that, put it down into these charts here, so you could see it by day, by time slot, and then we consolidated that into the graphs on the other page. So we have a meeting with Scott right after the first of the year. I did talk to him this week. There's dollars in the budget that we'll go over later to provide transportation until we get it figured out what's going to happen in 2024. And I know the Board of Trustees is having conversation too about transportation. So still trying to decide what is the best course of action. This is just an opinion from the new guy on the block, but I don't really see there's a big demand for transportation. But I think, as we talk to Scott, we'll see where to go from there and then make a recommendation.
I'm curious, have you gotten any additional feedback from the stakeholders, from the business owners about transportation, the lack thereof, or?
We have not, and before I started, I think there was some communication either with Myers or Walmart that they were concerned, and we have not seen or heard any comments from any of the employers.
And we can't tell from this, but I'm wondering if Hope Network tracked the stops.
They
that
do.
got the most, so which stops?
They did, the one at the flagpoles, was that fair to say, Jessica? Yeah, so the one at the flagpoles, which is the very first one coming into the township. In that one, there was very consistent times where someone would get on that, like at 6:03 every morning, it was someone got on that bus. So we think that was the exact same person every single day. But there was not a lot of variation from that. But that was the most highly used stop was that. And what was interesting is that when they came into the township, we couldn't actually see where they went back out of the township. So either they went to work and then got picked up or found another way to get transported home.
Interesting.
Have you approached Meyer and Walmart, to see if there's any issues or questions?
I have not.
I think Scott, Mr. Alsgaard has from Hope Network, and he put more brochures up in the,
Oh, that's true. He has.
and he talked to the YMCA person. I don't know who else. He looked into that other shopping center too, but I don't think we heard back about making officially that change to where Thornapple Brewing is.
Okay. And I know that there was in either the initial survey or one of the follow-up surveys, there was some feedback from hotels and the retirement community in Centennial Park saying that they had employees that were using. So if there is outreach that happens, I think it makes a lot of sense to contact them as well.
Yep.
I mean, maybe they've scheduled around it or handled it some other way, which is fine.
We did hear some feedback from Myers that some of the employees that claimed to use the transportation were transferred to other stores that were closer to where they lived.
Okay, which,
So it looks like maybe the employer made some accommodations.
And then Scott from Hope Network, remember at that one community meeting, there was a woman here from Cascade Engineering
yes.
Oh,
and had
yeah.
expressed interest? Well, then we relayed that information to him in one of the meetings and he said, oh, well, yeah, we were in contact with them through the Wheels to Work program, but they didn't want to contribute anything. So it was like,
Right.
couldn't really go anywhere after that
How
point.
about the other side of that piece, the non-employee transportation? So, the retirees and the disabled community who were concerned about the Go Bus going away. Have we received any update from Scott or any feedback from that population? Because I know that they were very vocal about this change causing a big problem for them.
So when I started, you guys had just made this change and I was expecting much more conversations and inquiries from residents and users. And I have received 2 phone calls in the entire time that I've been here. And one was just looking for a refund. They bought I'm going to forget
Go Bus tickets.
yes, the Go Bus ticket. So we took care of her and she was all set. But she didn't complain or anything. She just said, I purchased these and I want to get a refund for them.
That's fair.
Did
And I know that you had a
you
couple.
refund her?
I did. I know there was a couple of elderly people that had inquired as well, but those have gone away. You haven't received anything, have you, Jessica?
Just the one?
Yeah.
She didn't contact me again after.
Right.
Right, so the other alternate services were out there. It was just, their concern was, well, it wasn't something that was running on the weekend.
In evenings.
And the message that we had delivered to them, or the township had delivered to them was, well, you just need to plan your shopping during times that
Right.
these are in operation then. So
Right.
perhaps that's smooth.
Yeah, and I think she just was looking for information. She didn't really, we had so many before we started with the Hope Network at the township, and then really within a week or two before the service ended, it really dropped off. So
Well, and it's so curious to me because people
And no businesses, nothing.
So
Nothing.
adamant about their need that I can't reconcile this.
And it wasn't a motion because, well, it could have been a motion, but it was quantified in the survey. So what's
Right.
funny is you look at what the survey results are, as I'm pointing to this imaginary survey. And then you look at what the real numbers are, and there's a huge
Totally
disconnect.
different.
When they're actually being
We
tracked.
also have now a buffer of time and people, there was businesses that said they would shut down. And,
I don't think they were aware of the different program on the Saturday.
Yeah.
We did have one call into one of the board meetings, the Board of Trustees meetings, but we have a feeling that was someone that was set up to call. I think that was one of my first
Oh,
meetings.
he called 2 or 3 times, same guy, but he
Okay.
didn't live
Since I've been here,
or
I
work
think he
in
called
Cascade
once.
Township.
did he use the same name each time he called?
I don't know, because his voice was so distinguishable.
Okay.
I don't remember the name, but he worked at the same, he worked.
And he was calling for someone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But-
It was kind of a bizarre and he zoomed in. It was, I don't know. I
He was
guess
real polite.
It was polite, but it was also interesting.
It
It
was
seemed
kind of
very
weird.
robotic what he said as well.
Maybe he wrote himself a script, which is
That could be,
understandable.
that could be.
But yeah, I mean, if he doesn't live or work in Cascade, and it was just a complaint about the Rapid or life in general, then I don't
Right.
know that there's anything to do. We've all been there.
Totally, I
So
probably used
are-
that same.
Jade, you had mentioned that the Board of Trustees is also having conversations in regards to transportation. Are you privy to share in what direction are they talking?
Well, I know I wasn't at the meeting, but Scott came in and presented to the board some of the information that he had, and then we're waiting to get through the end of the cycle, through the end of the year to kind of regroup with him, and then we'll have more discussion with both the DDA and with the board.
Is there an intent to do that outreach? I mean, even if it's short of a formal survey, which I don't know that we need to bang that drum again, but does the township board intend to contact some of these businesses to?
Yeah, I think the fixed route part and then where it comes to the DDA, but then really it's kind of a township. The fixed route isn't getting the same. I think it's unfair to put the entire thing on the DDA is what I would. It
Right,
needs to be
my
looked
question
at.
though is the township gonna reach out before it makes a decision about whether to change from the
Yeah.
Hope Network model? Okay.
We can do that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Other questions, comments, thoughts?
My comment is that based on the usage, is continuing this service between 8 and 10 o'clock at night justified?
And that was already something that we discussed with Scott, and we said, you know what, let's just give it to the end of the year and see what happens. But even Scott from Hope Network was saying that he was not so sure that that would be a good use of resources, was to continue with that time slot.
Right. Well, and with notice to potential ridership.
Yeah.
Seems like it would be a prudent change. if
And we've
nobody's
only
riding.
got
Yeah,
approximately 10 people on a Friday on average?
Yeah.
Using it.
right.
Divided by 2.
It's
Divided by 2, right,
it's
so
time
5.
to start. Yeah, I
And
mean,
you know, what's interesting from my perspective is that when, and it's a lot of us at Township Hall, when we leave for lunch and we drive and we see the Hope bus, and if you see one person on it, it's, that's a good day. And I look at the environmental impacts as well on that bus, just sitting there idling and then driving and then idling and driving. And, I just see gas just being spent.
Well, it certainly seems right to be tweaked, the program, given the data is helpful. So, having it for the rest of the year would be a good plan. Scott?
No, I mean, I think it's just take things in steps and then
Mhm.
make you tighten the schedule. And if the numbers don't change, you may tighten again.
Yeah.
And then but I think if we transparently share this information as we go out, if we do arrive at a decision where this is not viable, it just doesn't make sense.
it's gonna make financial.
Well-
It doesn't make any financial, environmental, there's a lot of
Yeah.
reasons, then it's very well communicated and it is what it is.
And let's remember, the entire reason for the pilot program and then the continuation was to address an expressed need.
Yes.
Yep.
And if the need is no longer there, then it's no longer there and we don't have to continue to provide the service. So I think that that's the assessment that needs to happen. If people have found alternate transportation, that's great. We can then respond accordingly by either terminating or revising the program.
But
And
I
we
would
thought-
say this is surprising.
Yeah.
Minimally used it as compared to surveys and what we saw in some ridership.
Well, and also, compared to the amount of people that showed up for that meeting.
Yes.
That, had an opinion on the whole transportation, here in the Wisner Center. And again, where Meyer had made the statement that they have 125 employees that use the bus. And that potentially true, but we know that some of them did get, according to them, did get relocated to
On their
other
side.
stores. So, and I think that's what we've always been talking about is just so that we've got the data
Mhm.
to be able to make a fact-based decision and not an emotional decision. So,
Right.
yeah.
Other thoughts?
No, I agree. Ultimately, it's just, these are real dollars that
All right, thanks for the report.
Yeah, and we thought it was important to put it in this format too, so that we can put it on the website and be transparent. So when
Agreed.
somebody looks at it, they're not looking
Yeah,
at,
no.
25 pages of Excel spreadsheets.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, so thank you, Jessica, for putting that together.
Good work. All right, moving on then to Article 6, the 2024 budget. Back to you, Judy.
Okay, so this was a little unconventional, the way that this went down this year. One, with the time that I started, and two, just with the way the meetings fell and having to have gotten the township's overall budget approved by the board. So the board has actually already approved all of the budgets for 2024, but we still need to go through this process with the DDA. And any concerns, questions, or changes that we want, we can take back to the board and actually amend that budget. What I did included in your packet is kind of an overview, 2-page overview letter for you, kind of explaining how I look to this differently in the future, which is actually to be much more proactive in regards to getting the budget before the board or before the DDA board, before it goes to the Board of Trustees to work through these line item budgets. I'll go through some of the highlights. The 2024 budget shows an increase in revenue of over $600,000. That's a little misleading though, because $500,000 of that actually came from the general fund, from the ARPA dollars, for the pedestrian bridge. And because the DDA was actually contributing to that itself, we thought it was good to keep all of those dollars just in one line item so that when we have expenses that come through, we know where we're going to charge those to. And the board agreed with that as well. The page 2 goes through some of the changes by line item for the 2024 budget. Some of them are kind of like housekeeping. For instance, the very first bullet, which is the removal of miscellaneous line items. I did that in every single budget throughout the township. I just don't like that word miscellaneous. It sends up red flags to me. And when I added up all the miscellaneous line items throughout all the budgets, it was significant. So we reallocated those dollars where they should be. I'm proposing to increase contracted services line item for a number of reasons. One is we're looking at doing some site improvement grants, which, as you know, McKenna's working on that plan. Zoning modifications will have to be done as well. We've got the village concept and planning that will be coming before you for approval, and then also demolition services of the Tuffy building. So that line item did go up pretty significantly, over $120,000 to accommodate for all of those services that would be needed. And then
Can I interject with a quick question?
Absolutely,
So
sure.
You've included demo costs. Is it anticipated that there would be any kind of remediation or construction costs in 2024 as well?
Right. So unfortunately, it's somewhat of a ballpark figure. I'm glad you asked that because I meant to say that because we don't know the total environmental impact and if there's going to be some remediation, which there are some resources out there that we can utilize the state for some of that through their brownfield fund. So we're still in the process of that. We won't know all of that until we actually get the environmental testing done and then get the demolition complete.
And in that
So-
case, we would do a budget amendment if necessary.
Yes, yes.
Do you guys remember, because the DDA purchased the Tuffy, right? Or do you remember the environmental? I've seen both, that there was contamination and that there wasn't, both.
I can't remember.
I just wondered if anyone.
Well, they would have to, they
And-
would have done testing prior to purchase,
Mhm.
but when
Yeah.
you start to excavate, you have to do additional testing, and particularly it's dependent on what you want to put in the space. So if you wanted to put in our restaurant, then the
Right.
remediation would be probably a little different than if you want to use it
Right.
as a park and you're not going to be digging up. And so
Mhm.
additional testing will be required regardless of what happened before, but I can't remember what it said.
Don't-
And
it's-
because that was a few years ago too, and they've continued to operate in the manner that they have, there's still a risk that they could have contaminated even if there wasn't contamination 5 years ago. So because it's going to be public space, we probably want to be better safe than sorry
Agreed.
and do the testing.
And wouldn't it be a leading indicator Tassel Park when we did construction there, like for previous things? If there was some issues with the land that they probably are present on the Tuffy's.
I mean,
lot.
certainly at a baseline level. I mean,
Yeah.
if there were issues with Tassel Park, then we can expect that in addition to whatever may have happened in the
I
interim.
think that's our closest indicator without doing the tests of what we may or may not.
I think it's safe to say that there's gonna need to be some remediation regardless. Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt. you.
No,
Please-
no,
please
by all
continue.
means, as we're going through this, jump in, sure. So the second or the third bullet point is the decrease in transportation services line item, because we are still looking at what that long-term solution is going to be. I didn't want to allocate too much dollars to the budget, but again, if it's decided between the board and the DDA to continue, and we need to allocate more, we'll come back with a budget amendment for that as well. But I did put enough in there to get us through 3 months into 2024 so that we can have that conversation with Hope Network and then make that call after that. Something in the short time I've been here, I realized that there is a pretty significant streetlight issue throughout the township on 28th as well as within Centennial Park. And we have 3 different styles of lights. This may not be new for all of you, but it's been quite an administrative headache to figure out what we're going to do to consistently get the lights fixed. The ones on 28th Street, they're flickering. We've had a couple of them addressed. I just noticed that there's another one that's flickering now. So we have to do some analysis there and figure out what we're going to do. I'm working with Eric, our engineer, who's going to take over the lead on the streetlight problem. Billigan Grounds had done it before. I think it's bigger than that. We need someone to actually work with the lighting manufacturers and the lighting companies to figure out what is the best solution. So I did increase, I don't think it's going to be enough, but I did increase that line item to accommodate for more concentration on the streetlights. And that we actually have, there's additional funds, and I want to say it's it's over $200,000. It's in the general fund budget. That's also going to work on streetlights as well. So it's not all on the DDA. There's issues across the board. One of the other line items that I did increase, we haven't really talked about this as a group, but one of the things that I noticed right away when I started working here and I was new to Cascade is the whole entire corridor from 96 all the way down into the village. Could probably use some sprucing up, especially when you get off that 96 exit on 28th Street and you're heading east. I think we need to invest some dollars into streetscape, landscaping, flowers, and make it very, very noticeable that you're in Cascade and make it very inviting. We've got the sign heading west on the north side of 28th Street over by the Drury Inn. But that's really all you have is defining that you're in Cascade. And where I've been in the past, DDAs have always spent money on their entire corridors to really kind of create that unique feel and that destination that you're actually in a different community than your neighboring community. I know there's efforts in the village from the flower pots, but I think that could be expanded. So one of my proposals is to actually invest some dollars in some additional landscaping architecture and then some additional landscaping and start looking at the whole corridor, not just the village itself.
I agree with that. One comment though is when they're planting trees, keep in mind when they're planting trees close to the road, if it's near an exit or entrance from a business, it could be potentially a hindrance to, as it grows as far as oncoming
Yes,
traffic.
100%.
And because in one of my places, there is a tree that if it grows much, it's going to be a hindrance.
Right. unfortunately, but fortunately, the community that was just in had very strict streetscape guidelines when you developed property. And if you've ever been to Canton, they have very short, they don't do monuments. They have to be monument signs because we short to the ground, and they required all kinds of landscaping. And it has created a huge issue now because they put that in like 20 years ago. And now the corridor just looks so overgrown. And we've got businesses that say you can't see their sign. So it's a real delicate mix. And
Mhm.
I absolutely understand
I'm
what you're
talking
saying.
more about trees.
Yes.
On that.
Yep.
And I know there was some effort to, or effort's the right word. There was some back and forth about the median islands over on that district as well, which should,
Yeah. Yeah.
its own challenge.
Yes. I noticed right away
Yeah.
when I pulled into town this past July, I was like, whoa, what's happening? So, you know, because as you drive east and you head into the village, it really is a really different look. So I was like, well, maybe I don't know where the boundaries of Cascade are, but I knew, you know, so I think it's important as the DDA to take pride in that and to make some upgrades. And then the last bill that I have here is that there is a pretty significant increase in the capital outlay. That was due to the DDA's decision. You had voted back in, I believe, April or May to contribute to Friendship Park and then also to the pedestrian bridge. So those dollars are reflected in this budget too. The transfers were never done in 2023 because the project hasn't started. Because DDA is its own fund, I figured we could just do that transfer with the 2024 budget to create less accounting work that needed to be done. So with that, I will take any questions, but the general fund, the DDA fund balance is still sitting at about $1.6 million. And that's after the large contributions that you're doing to two pretty big, significant projects in the community. So that's where we stand.
Questions?
And I guess one other comment, obviously I talked about a lot of what ifs and that we're going to be working with contractors. All that obviously is going to come back before the board for you guys to take a look at and consider what the landscaping plan is, the concept plans, all of that. That'll be coming back before you. I've already had conversations with McKenna to redo their contract. So in January, Danielle and I are going to work on making that be more, because they're providing more services to the townships than they have in the past, and their contract didn't, they were only contracted for the strategic plan and the master plan, but there's other services that they're providing for us as well in regards to the village area and other projects throughout the township. So we're looking at beefing up their contract.
Other questions?
Comments I have is I appreciate you being proactive and I agree with your suggestions.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Thank you very much. So we need to move to approve this, or do we have to approve it since it's already been approved by the?
I think so. 'Cause usually, well, the way it works is usually that you approve the budget and then the township approves the allocation of dollars for the DDA.
Right.
So I think that formally to go ahead and approve it would be the best, just so we have it on record that you did approve this line item budget.
I will entertain a motion to approve this.
I make a motion to approve the budget that has been proposed.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, thank you very much. Moving on then to Article 7 with staff updates.
Oh, I guess
Back
that's
to
me.
you, man. This
That's
is
back to
your
me.
show.
Sorry. Yeah, I just put a couple things on here to update you on in regards to some of as you have contributed dollars or have an invested interest in some of these projects. The first one being the library project. If you have not noticed, they are actively working on that and they're going to continue to work on that throughout the winter. The Board of Trust, we finally, this did not get approved in the way that it probably should have been. It was kind of approved in pieces because different funding sources came into the project. So it was approved before I got here from a design perspective, and they broke it out into 4 different phases. Well, then the DDA came along with some dollars, the board came along with some dollars, and they were successful in getting the RAP grant of $450,000. So what that did is it allowed for the whole project to move forward at once. But not all of the contractors had been worked out yet. So the final piece actually went to the board last week and was approved for the pavilion. So everything is full steam ahead and construction is going to continue through the winter. They hope to have it completed and open by June. I believe it was June. And with final design of that pavilion being worked out a couple of weeks ago. So what we plan on doing now with that is as they continue to work, we're going to actually put up some signage. I know you had sent an email in regards to that. We've already talked with Melanie and with Wes in regards to what that sign is going to look like along 28th Street. That's going to have the concept rendering, and we'll have all the different funding mechanisms too. So the township, the DDA, the Friends of the Library, the Right Place logo will be on there too, showing, who all is contributing to make that part complete. So.
I think it'd be
Great.
good too around the library as well.
Yes.
As you walk in, so the people are using it, because there's just a lot of activity and there's no communication beyond Cascade connections.
Right.
So it'll be great.
Glad to hear that.
We were hoping to have that done already, but the rendering that we did see at the pavilion was not a rendering that we wanted up there. It didn't have any dimension to it. It actually looked like a spaceship. So it was.
It looked like a hockey puck that was falling.
Yeah, it was very odd from the angle that they drew it. So we said, can you do something different? So once that's complete, we'll get that put out there.
Great.
The Cascade Road pedestrian bridge, that design is still being worked on with our engineer Eric and the Kent County Road Commission. I think that they have finally come up with a design that's going to allow for 8-foot paths on both sides of the bridge. I know there was some talk before, and it was, I can't remember exactly, it was before I was here, but it was only going to be on one side or the other that was going to be able to accommodate a larger pathway. They've actually done some engineering and looked at what the utilities that are running underneath that bridge, and they're actually going to be able to do 8-foot pathways on both sides now.
So are they widening the bridge or are they narrowing the?
They're
car
narrowing,
lanes?
narrowing what?
The car lanes.
They're narrowing the car lanes by just a little bit.
Okay.
Yep, yes, that's what they're doing. And then they're looking at what that design is going to look like. That's going to be that pedestrian barrier, because there will be a barrier between the vehicle traffic and the pedestrian traffic. And once we have that design worked out with the county and something that they've approved, we'll bring it back before and have it in a packet as well for everybody to take a look at.
Will construction occur outside of the school? Just because, if construction occurs when the school's in session, it's gonna be painful for
Right.
a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll make sure and address that in the pre-con meeting. They haven't even gotten that far yet, but we'll make sure that in the pre-construction meeting that we discuss that.
Really good point.
Yes.
Because there aren't a lot of end runs around that
No.
corridor. Other questions about the bridge?
Master plan update. We're making some good strides with the master plan, which is why that's important to the DDA, is that village rezoning, or the village zoning updates are going to be incorporated into that master plan. So we are hoping to have a draft master plan go before the planning commission in, is it January or February, Grace?
Can't remember. One of those
February
days.
5th. So we're got some more administrative work to do, make sure that some things get hammered out, and then we'll be presenting that to the planning commission. Then it'll go before the board of trustees. But I will send a copy to the entire DDA board too, so you can take a look at what's being proposed for the different areas throughout the township.
Great, thank you.
6869 Cascade Road, that's actually the Tuffy building. We were supposed to take possession of the building on Monday. But they've made progress, but we've now given them till the end of this week to get there's like 8 cars that are left there, and they think they've got one hoist inside that they have to disassemble and take out. So I was in contact with them today. So I'm hoping that after Christmas next Tuesday, I can pick up the keys on Wednesday, and then we'll have complete possession of that property. And then we're working on putting the demolition specs together to put that out to bid, so we can actually get that demolished still this winter.
Has there been any thought toward messaging, perhaps in conjunction with the seller? I mean, I've been seeing on Nextdoor and social media, people doing a lot of speculating. And people have suggested that the township pushed him out.
Yeah, I put up a one response and kind of left it at that
Right, but
because
I-
otherwise you could go all day.
If the seller's amenable, I mean, it might be a nice thing to include in Cascade Connections to say, this is, this is what's happening. To dispel any of those rumors that this was an eminent domain
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. We've had a lot of conversations. A lot of people come in inquiring on it.
Okay.
Once they find out what's happening, they really are, they're looking forward to more green space. They're looking forward to, an addition to the park. But yeah, we can work on some additional messaging too.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's against it. I think that people are only against the thought of the township pushing him out and it was involuntary in some way,
Mhm.
when that's not true.
Right.
Where is Tuffy moving to?
I think
They
he's-
sold, yeah, so the owner of the building was not the same as the owner of the business. The owner of the business owns 3 and he's looking to retire. I think he's quite ill. And so he sold the 2 of the franchises and carved this out from the deal. And then the manager, who a lot of people think is the owner, Bobby, who you see when you go in there, he has an offer at both of, he could go to either of those places, but he also has an offer in Florida and he's also near retirement. So I don't know if sure he knows, but
He hasn't shared.
yeah. So it's kind of too bad, but the timing was also. It's unclear what would have happened had the township not bought it, I would say.
Okay. 2024 calendar.
So included in your packet was also the approved calendar for the year. So I thought I would just bring attention to that's in here. Nothing has changed for next year in regards to the DDA.
Do you anticipate any problems given the construction with having the meetings here at the Wisner Center or parking lot should stay clear?
Yep. Mhm.
All right.
We have not been told otherwise. So if we do, then I will communicate that out.
No. Any other questions regarding the staff updates? All right, moving on then to Article 8, any other business?
The reappointments or the end of the terms, I just want to say, Jennifer, you were here 12 years, leadership role, Rick, 16. And it's a tough one. We had multiple people over the last couple of years, business owners, but then also residents. And so made the decision to give 2 other people a turn, but it wasn't easy. And I just want to say thank you. I know you guys were an integral part and everyone's going to miss you.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And I guess I'd just interject that I've really enjoyed working with everybody on this. It's been my honor to be able to be involved in the community in this way, and I'll still be involved even though I won't be in this seat. So I look forward to seeing how you guys take these projects forward because they've been in progress for a long time. So thank you.
Thank
You
you.
guys.
And again, I want to thank the community to allow me to serve on this board. The community has supported me for 46 years and is greatly appreciated. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to give back. And I do want to say, as Jennifer, you've been a tremendous asset as the chairman, and it is greatly appreciated. And Jade, I think you're going to be a wonderful addition to the Cascade community. And thank you for
Great.
coming.
Well, thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
just one piece of advice to both of you, because I have a lot more gray hairs. Is one thing I've learned over the years is surround yourself with people that is willing to oppose your opinions. Because I think it is extremely beneficial to get other people's opinion, because I've learned over the years that with support staff, have you thought of this, or what if this happens? And it's a situation where in the long run, getting opinions from people that differ from you, I think will benefit the community tremendously. And again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you. So are you able to announce who the new members are, or do you have to
The
wait?
owner of Bridal Elegance and then Chris Bingham is he works at it's not Miller Knoll, but it's Miller Knoll. So the resident part,
Herman Miller.
no, but it's like the two combined. Yes, and
No.
it's in the old packet. It's in the most recent board packet, but
Oh, okay.
Bridal Elegance would be the business rep, and then the tricky one is there's like a whole list of people who wanted that resident position, but you're only allowed two, so. But anyways, yes, Chris Bingham is a resident. He's and he served on something similar when he was in Lansing on the DDA equivalent.
Yeah, are you guys familiar with Old Town in Lansing, which is kind of like it's like a mini DDA right down the street from the Capitol?
Mhm.
So he actually was instrumental in the creation of that Old Town. I didn't know that until I read that when he was appointed, but I was heavily involved in what's called the Michigan Main Street Program, which is all about downtowns and villages and things like that. And Old Town was one of the first ones in the state, and I'm pretty impressed with what they did. So it's interesting that somebody in Cascade lives here now that was involved in that.
I didn't know that until
I forgot to tell you.
no, it's good to know.
Yeah.
We'll find out what their viewpoints are. Maybe they're anti-village. I don't think so.
So you, under other business, next meeting, you've got the calendar attached.
Oh, yes, I
I
do.
don't think the board meeting minutes were attached, but they scrolled right past them, but they're accessible online, so if you'd like to see those, you can look them up that way. Any other business?
I noticed coming tonight that there's new business, and I'm not sure if they are tied in. Oh, I can't remember the names of them now. A fireplace?
By Beacons?
Yes, by Beacons. Are they connected? Do you know?
No,
Think so.
they own a place in Rockford and they own a place in Nunica. The reason I know that because I bought a fireplace in Nunica and it seems like a good organization, what I've dealt with.
Oh, good.
Fireplace, yeah, I think they'll do well.
And the Domino's is open now.
Oh,
Mhm.
boy.
Do you think it'll make it? Is that, we're gonna find out if it's Jinx
Find out.
first?
Yeah,
We wish them luck.
yeah.
Right,
It's gonna be
let's all
great.
knock on some wood.
Nice delivery vans I've seen coming in and out there.
I know.
The teenage population is excited.
They have quite a few delivery vehicles, it looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the solution. I mean, the parking lot is part of the problem, right? So if you
Well,
sending deliveries. out-
Domino's nationally is known for their digital, they were on the
Oh.
forefront, yeah,
Very forefront
yeah.
on a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
So-
One of the things, if I may,
Go for it.
this early winter, my wife and I went up to Traverse City. And we had to drop off my son to Great Wolf Lodge for a church gathering. And that weekend, they had with their DDA a downtown business giving back. And so if you would buy anything at any of the stores that were participating, they would donate 15% back to a charity within the area. And so they had a list of different charities. And once you made your purchase, you just checked off which one you wanted your 15% of your purchase to go to. I just throw that out there as an idea, or I don't know if we have that community, so to speak, like the Traverse City downtown, but just a thought from trying to get people maybe out to the Cascade area and or much like the group across the street here when they did their trunk or treat. They've got the little plaza that they may be able to do something like that. So I don't know if you've done anything in Canton with, again, from a business generator.
Yeah,
aspect.
there's various things you can do, but that's a good idea. I like the charity spin on that. I've not done something with the charity, but I like that idea.
Was the DDA just responsible for advertising, getting it out, and then the 15% of the sales went directly to the charity, or was there a great idea?
So I don't know what role the DDA, I'm sure they probably did all the marketing behind the
Mhm.
scenes. When I was talking with one of the store owners on how it worked, she said that at the end of that weekend, she presents the DDA with how the breakup of the monies was supposed to be and just writes one check for the total and gives it to the DDA. And then the DDA takes all the monies and then they write out the check. So she's not writing out 32 different checks to all the different charities. And so they had, like the YMs or the Boys and Girls Club, they had a couple wildlife. And what was kind of cool is that there were a couple of those nonprofit organizations on the sidewalks sharing with what they do. So like the wildlife, there was a injured hawk that they had. And so the hawk was out and they were showing and talking about the hawk and what their organization does to try to provide. And, so you kind of get that connection. So maybe next time I go and I buy something on the soap or whatever, then I'm going to donate to that because she just explained it and that was a great cause. So I thought it was just a new spin to the charity perspective that I've never heard of before.
One of the things that we've done in the past is when we did events, the charities, there was a charity spin, but not where we just give them money, but they actually had to help us run the events. And if they helped us run the events, and they would get a part of the proceeds from like an event. So
Steve's got experience with that because
Yeah, that's all we do at the
your
restaurant.
Culver's really is such a staunch supporter of, I know a lot of the school groups have their.
And I
fundraisers.
just looked yesterday, we've given out over $10,000 this year,
Wow.
Just this year?
just this year. Yeah.
that's, well,
So what about 180 if you annualize it over the last 18 years?
So appreciated. Hopefully the workers that volunteer are helpful rather
They
than
are,
hindrances.
they are, no, they are. My team makes sure.
Wonderful.
That's what I'll have, sorry.
Great.
Do apologize. That's a great idea. Oh, other business.
Just one question, but doesn't need to be decided and maybe it doesn't even work. Just curious if, it's been evenings, but is there a preference between mornings and evenings? Mornings work better for business owners or? I could do either. I don't want to like change it if it's,
My point of view is the evenings can work just because the mornings are when I get personally, that's when I find out about all my problems.
okay. It's in the window of,
And by the
Opportunities, not problems.
time I get to how I figured out how I've solved those opportunities.
I would agree.
okay.
Other business?
I would just say we had a closing, Detroit Cookie Company closed.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Wait, where
across the street from us.
yeah, that was right across the
Yeah,
street, right?
it happened,
didn't last
literally,
long.
they just shut down like almost overnight.
Interesting.
I think their lease ended or
Oh.
what happened. I'm not sure what happened, but they weren't that busy over the time that they were there, but I'm not aware of any other businesses that went out.
How about
Anecdotally, I
crime?
don't see much traffic in front of AutoZone.
No, not yet.
Right.
It's a tough.
Yeah, how about-
topic.
Like Red Roof Inn, anything like, is it same old, better, worse, same?
Maybe I've just gotten used to it. It still is what it is. I mean, I think we only had to call the non-emergency line maybe in the last 3 months, maybe only 2 or 3 times for incidents. So that feels about normal. So I can't say that it's vastly improved or not. Every time I engage Kent County, they're awesome. Their response time has always been very good, and they've been very helpful with any incidents that we have. If someone threatens our staff or comes in and refuses to leave or whatever happens. So, I mean, we're appreciative to them. It still is a tough corridor.
Yeah,
We're actively working with Omar, but then also working with our legal counsel on some things from an enforcement perspective that the township can undertake in regards to the hotel and the activities that are happening there. So more to come on that. Stay
hopefully
tuned.
soon, right? Early, hopefully that one will be,
I just talked to him today again.
okay.
Was there any
That would be
follow-up or
awesome.
know any more information about that body they found behind?
Gippers.
Gippers.
So what I was told is that actually it was somebody who was staying at the hotel or resident of the hotel that they had kicked out. And so he went out back. And I don't know if he just passed away. I don't know the details,
Oh.
but he was staying at the hotel and they kicked him out.
The week prior at is it Candlewood Suites by Meyer? There was a overdose death, a woman. It's a handful of the hotels based on the owners and kind of their business model. And so hopefully in the new year, can we just say it or no?
You can.
We're looking at the
A licensing
a
process with a
licensing
permit.
process where you set it up, so like, you know, it gives the township some teeth where if the, because we're spending a disordinate
But not
amount of money on
anything
first
to
response.
modify
Mhm.
the-
That then won't hurt assisted living centers or other places that have a high volume, high call volume, but kind of would be effective and
To require some inspections and annual inspections and things, it'll create some more interaction where we'll catch some of these things that are happening and these bad behaviors and hopefully can shut them down. But again, we're right at the beginnings phases
Mhm.
of that and working with the attorney.
I think it's huge. I mean, if I look at our DDA, we're trying to create a downtown area in a village area and a gathering place. That's great. That really addresses needs there. When you get up where our business is, it's less about the aesthetics. It's more about the environment and having a safe environment, not only for guests or patrons of that area, but also to maintain the talent that you need because it's a
Yes.
safety concern
Right?
for associates. And so it hasn't improved now for, say, 6+ years. I think it's been a problem for many, many years, because when I mention it, anyone in law enforcement's like, that's always been a tough area off the highway. And it intends to be a hot potato depending on which hotel, who's managing it at the time. There's high turnover of managers. So one property can be good for, say, 6 months, they'll lose a manager, and then it falls to the wayside. So where they're channeling their calls is always changing between 6 hotels,
Interesting.
but they're all clustered together.
Mhm.
I also know that North Point Bank invested significantly in that space, and they voiced a concern at the meeting. They've hired a full-time security guard out of their concern. And I've seen them spend thousands of dollars on cameras all around the building. So, again, to attract great, strong businesses that, especially North Point Bank, that decide, hey, it's kind of our headquarters. We want to continue to attract those people to that corridor. We're going to have to address it.
we don't get anything from the Drury Inn, right? As far as complaint. It's
No,
really is.
I haven't heard him. No, we haven't talked much about that at all.
Is that a price point issue or a managerial issue?
Both.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, both,
it's
but I
the
also think
Silverhair
too-
group That goes there, right? It's
for the
a
buffet.
different clientele.
And it's
It's
managed.
more expensive.
It's the owner and management, because I think there's several of the problem hotels have the same owner.
Yep.
So the Drury is a privately held group. I think they're based out of Missouri. And they bring in pretty senior managers at that location. It is price point, but it's a whole different model than, say, the Red Roof Inn.
Yeah, you get free buffet before, you get a free dinner, free drinks. It's.
You should have like a
You've never been to one?
testimonial. No, but now it makes me want to go.
Facilitate,
Session.
come in buses. Crazy.
You're really selling it. It sounds.
I've heard really
Room is slightly more.
Yeah, but.
They don't offer monthly rates.
Right. Or hourly. Yeah, right.
Right.
Very nice that the construction was complete on Burton Bridge.
Oh, hallelujah.
It's done now? Oh,
Yes.
You have nothing to do with it. There's no pedestrian
Doesn't
bridge.
matter. We're not-
It's just-
not in-
Oh,
I heard there was some mistakes in purchasing some materials that,
Oh.
delayed the project, but
Oh,
it's,
interesting.
we just assumed that it was like a rat's nest. Once you got in, you realized how bad it was, but I have no idea. We didn't hear anything.
blessing.
Just in
stuff.
time for hockey
Yeah,
season. You
yes.
got it. Yeah, get yourself over to Patterson. All right, any other business? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. We don't leave because we have our informational meeting.
Oh, that's right.
So let's see if we can, in record time.
Yep.
Clip on through our informational meeting. So you have another, thank you, Grace. You will have another agenda in your packet for our informational meeting. We have to do this because we are required to do it twice a year, so just under the wire. It is, time is 6:36, and so I will call our Cascade DDA informational meeting to order. It isn't in the agenda to review and approve the agenda, but can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. Article 2, review of projects completed in 2023. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't get this far when I read through the packets.
Nope, no problem. I can pick it up from there. So before you have some information in regards to kind of the history of the DDA, what the DDA's purpose is, the public act, some of the events that have happened in 2023, participated in the township strategic plan, worked with McKenna to implement the DDA strategic plan and to evaluate transportation options. That was a big one in 23. And then also the DDA was instrumental in funding several projects. One being the walkway across Cascade for Cascade Bridge over the Horniple River, the Township Library outdoor space, Bloom School, the Cascade Community Foundation Business Educational Series, which I can update you guys on later, but we're going to be meeting with them because they haven't really done a lot. Landscape plantings in the village, and then also the Cascade Metro Cruise warm up.
Questions? All right, moving on to Article 3, future plans, projects. Other than what you've already mentioned, any future plans or projects you'd like to highlight, Jade?
What I talked about earlier is actually everything I have on my list. So just the concept, the zoning changes, the park enhancements, and then the grant program that we're looking to kick off in 2024.
Great. Any questions? Comments? Moving on to Article 4. This is the point of the meeting where we acknowledge visitors and those wishing to speak, and seeing none. We'll move past that to Article 5, which is adjournment. Anyone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting, informational meeting.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you much. That may well be a record.